Okay, so today we're diving into some pretty intense waters.
Yeah,
Infidelity in marriage.
heavy stuff.
You guys send in so much great material. We're going to try to look at it from all angles.
Absolutely.
The different types of infidelity, what
Yep.
causes it,
Mm-hmm.
how it impacts people, and
Yeah,
how to even begin to deal with it.
it's complex.
It's really complex. So, the goal here isn't to like give advice or judge anyone.
Right.
We just want to understand this thing that, let's be honest, we all kind of whisper about,
For sure.
but don't really examine in depth. So, are you ready to get uncomfortable?
Let's do it. I think it's a topic that deserves a lot more attention, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so first things first, the types of infidelity. The stuff you guys send in outlines, like four main categories.
Okay.
And honestly, I was kind of surprised by how much emphasis there is on infidelity that goes beyond just physical acts.
Yeah, it's actually really fascinating how the whole definition of infidelity is kind of evolving. You go back, years ago, it was all about the physical, right?
Yeah.
But these days, like a secret credit card or even like an intense online friendship
Hopeful.
can be just as damaging to a relationship.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was this recent study, something like 70% of people they asked said emotional infidelity
Wow.
was just as bad as a physical affair.
Yeah, it makes sense. It all comes down to that feeling of betrayal.
Yeah,
Like having your trust just
it's
shattered.
a trust.
It doesn't matter if there was physical contact or not.
Right.
It hurts. So the materials you sent called those emotional infidelity and online infidelity.
Okay.
And then there's also financial infidelity.
Yeah.
Hiding money, secret spending. That's a betrayal of trust too.
Oh, absolutely. And that often gets overlooked.
Totally overlooked. It's like
Yeah.
this whole hidden dimension. And it really makes you think about what infidelity actually means. Like what are your boundaries? What are the things that you would consider crossing the line?
Yeah, those are really important questions for everyone to ask themselves.
Totally. And for couples to talk about, like
Mhm.
have those hard conversations.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're moving into kind of tricky territory here. The causes of infidelity.
Yeah.
The materials laid out six main causes,
Right.
and we need to be super clear here, like none of these are excuses.
Absolutely not. These are just potential contributing factors.
Exactly. Just things that can help us understand why it happens sometimes.
Mhm.
Because let's be real, it's almost never just one thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole bunch of factors all tangled up together.
Totally. It could be like a lack of emotional connection, feeling sexually unfulfilled, problems communicating.
Right.
These things can create these little cracks in a relationship and make it vulnerable.
And then, of course, you've got the whole opportunity thing,
Right.
which, it doesn't make the hurt any less real.
No, not at all.
But it does highlight how certain situations can make resisting temptation a lot harder.
Right. Like, picture this. One partner's feeling totally neglected. They're not communicating well.
Right.
And then some attractive coworker starts giving them attention.
Uh-oh.
It's almost like a recipe for disaster.
It's a perfect storm. It's definitely not an excuse, but it can help us understand how these situations sometimes play out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So while opportunity definitely matters, let's switch gears for a minute and talk about the impact of infidelity.
Okay.
This is where things get, really serious.
Right.
The materials talk about intense emotional pain, obviously, shattering of trust,
Yeah.
and even the potential for the relationship to completely break down.
Absolutely. That feeling of betrayal, it often triggers these really primal emotions. We're talking intense grief,
Wow.
rage, a deep sense of insecurity.
Yeah,
It can really feel like your whole world has been turned upside down.
I can imagine.
And the thing is, rebuilding trust after something like that, it's incredibly challenging.
So challenging.
Yeah.
And then there's the impact on any kids that might be involved.
Right.
It's like this ripple effect that touches everyone in the family.
Huge.
So much damage. But is there a way back? Like what happens after infidelity? Can things ever be okay again?
That's the big question. And the materials do offer a little bit of hope.
Okay.
The main takeaway is that there's no easy answer. There's no magic formula.
Right.
Recovery is possible, but it takes a ton of work from both partners.
Of course.
It's got to be a two-way street.
Totally. So what does that work look like?
Well, open and honest communication is absolutely key.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times that means getting help from a therapist, a neutral third party who can help guide those tough conversations.
It's about slowly, painstakingly rebuilding that trust.
Exactly. And even then, there's no guarantee.
Right. And then there's the whole issue of forgiveness, if it happens at all.
Hmm.
Because, forgiveness is such a deeply personal thing. It can't be forced, And it definitely doesn't mean forgetting what happened or saying that the betrayal was okay.
Exactly. It's a process. And ultimately, the decision of whether to stay together or go separate ways, that's a huge one.
Huge.
And it has to be made carefully,
Absolutely.
with both partners really understanding what it's going to take to rebuild, if that's even possible.
Wow. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've explored the different types of infidelity, the crazy complex causes, the just devastating impact it can have,
Yeah.
and that long, hard road to recovery,
If there is one.
if there is one. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think if we zoom out a bit, what this all really comes down to is, understanding how fragile trust is
Yeah.
and how much constant work it takes to maintain a healthy, fulfilling relationship, any relationship.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And this whole conversation's really got me thinking. We were focusing on infidelity in romantic relationships.
Right.
But what about our other relationships?
Yeah.
With our friends, our families.
Interesting.
Can we betray their trust in similar ways? Can we be unfaithful to them too?
I don't know.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Thanks for going there with me today. And as always, thanks to all of you for listening and for sharing your thoughts and stories with us. Until next time, keep those deep dives going.
Yeah.